when they actually spend their time listening to this show, what does it mean? It means we're winning.
So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Piss-drunk fraternity guy, you got my asshole, bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to the side to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. I'm so cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwin is a minute overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. Guess everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finished Mr. Whitebeater, you're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. Screws in the blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cash ready to gag. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bo's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public dominant. Put a body by deception and lies. Social Darwin is a minute overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. Don't let the fucking pill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/EchoPlex Media. You can support this project at patreon.com/EchoPlex, or of course, go to eplex.store. There are memberships there that work an awful lot like the memberships on Patreon. Plus, you get some discounts on our swag. So that's good stuff right there. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch. If you don't stop throwing your rocks, snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't like your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, well, our first story this evening, you can hit !docket in the chat if you'd like to know what our links are for the week, by the way. And of course, they're always in the show notes for the podcast listeners and for people watching on YouTube. First up this week is Glendale School Board meeting. Didn't go so well, similar to last time. Here's some footage of it from Fort Fisher News to Share. Here, we'll start this over again. This is live radio, everybody. I forgot to change the view.
Protecting the scum. That's what they're doing. Protecting scum. He's a piece of shit.
So I'm not sure what happened here.
He's a fucking
The cops are clearly there to protect the Proud Boy protester types. Glendale, California, again. What I'm guessing is that there's like a lot of out-of-town agitators coming to Glendale to like fuck with the regular people who live there. And if you're listening This is a hard scene to describe. It's really chaotic. You probably want to check out the video if you're listening to the podcast.
Hey, back on the sidewalk. Back on the sidewalk. Back on the sidewalk.
So my guess here is that this guy probably is one of the counter protesters there versus the Proud Boys, and that's probably why he's getting arrested. This is a bit chaotic, but there's more footage here. There's another one that's 318. A little bit of a warning on this content. There might be people are yelling slurs a little bit in it. It's hard to hear, but if you're really listening for it, you can hear it.
Because we are not queers. We are a grassroots force of parents concerned with their children's future. We struggle for
These people don't have kids in this school district. I almost guarantee it. Like, this is just an angry mob.
Back up, guys. We have a bunch of officers with their backs to us. Back up.
This guy's like, I have nothing to lose. What do you mean you have nothing to lose?
Our brief moment here.
Here, you bitch! Back up, please. Thank you.
We have a long road ahead of us. It will be a fight throughout the night. It will be the darkest before the dawn. However, we will not go quietly into the night. We will fight with every might until the skies open up.
Yeah, they're angry. This is again, this is Glendale, California, and they're angry about queer people existing, basically. Says, don't blame me, I voted for Trump. Like, what the fuck is this? Oh, what the fuck? Okay, come on. This is just dumb. Like, I'm curious what's going on there, because that looked like, my understanding is there's a fairly large Armenian population, and it looks like a lot of those guys might have been Armenian, and it seems like maybe groups like the Proud Boys probably riled up people locally. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, because a lot of times too, these when you see these things happening, it's like people from out of town that have nothing to do with the schools and stuff too. So we're just gonna have to keep an eye on what's going on in Glendale, because that's crazy. Like, that is really crazy. I think Glendale's like right next to Los Angeles. Not right next to it. It's near Los Angeles. I don't believe it's in LA County. I don't believe it's in Orange County either. But yeah, they were all very angry though. We're all very angry. So we're going to move on to, I guess, more regular news. There was an interview with Trump where he just really didn't do very well in this interview with, I think, Brett Baer of all people.
I don't want to dwell on it, but according to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a planned attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president. The Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This is specifically a quote. You're quoted on the recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on this, on tape,
it says just the opposite.
That you can't declassify it, so why have it?
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify.
And that's what you said. You didn't.
I said that.
What? This guy's an idiot.
No. I said I.
You know why this guy can't find a good lawyer? Because every time he finds a good lawyer, the lawyer is like, don't go on TV anymore. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. You're fired. And so he's got this clown ass lawyer.
Could have, but that wasn't a document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying what the indictment says.
Well,
the recording and the people in the room who testified.
These people are very dishonest people. They're thugs. They're thugs. If you look at what they've done to other people, what they've done to, and overturned in the U.S. Supreme Court. These are thugs.
The suggestion was that you wanted this as evidence that the military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, had preemptively sent you plans for a possible attack on Iran, and that you didn't order that to happen. That's the suggestion.
I never ordered it to happen, no.
But that's why you wanted the document.
I don't think I've ever seen a document from Milley. Milley, frankly, was incompetent. The last one I'd want to attack with as my leader would be Milley. That I can.
What the fuck, yo? They've got this guy like dead to rights with these documents. And he's like, I don't have any documents. There were newspaper articles. I was a newspaper. I was writing. It just said class. It was just the newspaper. There were newspaper articles. This guy's so stupid. I mean, I knew he was like an idiot, but like this is what he's doing now is just like he's like, hi, I would like you to throw me in jail. Here's him in the same interview being asked about RFK Jr. No, this is pretty funny here. You know, the Kennedys, they all look the same. They're all like basically the same person, right?
And Biden, he's got somebody at 21%. I just saw a number, 21%. JFK Jr., who's a very nice person. I know him very well.
I think that was Robert. You think it's JFK Jr. Do you think he just fucked up, or do you think he was dog whistling to the Q people?
He's a very, very fine person. He's at 21%.
But DNC's not going to do any debates. He won't agree to them.
But
so what does it mean if the two front runners for the White House, you and President Biden, duck the debate stage?
Oh, no, we have to debate. No.
Primaries.
Oh, yeah, we have to. He and I have to definitely debate. That's what I love. But the two of us have to debate as the two even if the polls are...
So you haven't made your definitive decision on the primary?
No, I haven't, but I do say...
He's like, oh, we have to debate. He also like doesn't remember which Kennedy he's talking about. This guy's, I'm starting to think he's starting to fall apart. Not that he was like completely put together before, but I'm thinking this guy's starting to fall apart. He like looks disheveled, like more disheveled than usual. His speech patterns are different, maybe a little more frantic than we're used to from him, at least in this interview. It seems like he knows. He might know that it's all over, or I don't know, something's going. It's different. Like I said, it's not like he was put together really well before, but this all seems a little different. So here's one I called "Not Knowing Shit About the Things you yourself proposed is very, very presidential."
As an example, a woman who you know very well was in jail. She had 24 more years to serve. She served for 22 years. She had
Alice Johnson.
Alice.
She was in the Super Bowl.
High quality. Oh, yeah. I said, how many years? And she was on a telephone call, and they were involved in selling marijuana, mostly marijuana. And she got like 50 years in jail.
But she'd be killed under your plan.
Huh?
As a drug dealer?
No. Under that, it would depend on the severity. It would depend on the severity.
She's technically a former drug dealer. She had multi-million-dollar cocaine ring.
Any drug dealer, look.
So even Alice Johnson in that ad?
She can't do it, okay? By the way, if that was there, she wouldn't be killed. It would start as of now, so you wouldn't go to the past.
I know, but
like, dude, how do you just get absolutely bodied over and over again by Brett Baer? Like, how do you even do that? I didn't even think it was possible. Just getting humiliated by Brett Baer. Here we go, one more. Here's Trump hires the best people.
In 2016, you said that. I'm going to surround myself with only the best and most serious people.
Well, I did do that. We had tremendous, look, we had the best economy we've ever had. The world has ever seen.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you.
Yeah.
Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second defense secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock, and your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Canadian, milquetoast, and multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So, why did you hire all of them in the first place?
Because 10 to 1 that were fantastic. We had a great economy. We had phenomenal people in charge of the economy.
Just getting destroyed by Brett fucking Baer.
We had phenomenal people in the military. I'm not a fan of Milley, and I'm not a fan of certain of the television people. But I knocked out ISIS. I defeated ISIS. They said, Mattis, it would take 3 years, and I don't think we can do it. I did it in a period of like 4 weeks.
There's a lot of people who praise you for your policies. I just said that.
That's true. Well, I mean, you just went through a list. But don't forget, for every one you say, I had 10 that love us. And one thing happens, I find, with...
Oh, my God. Somebody in chat said that Murdoch's trying to ditch Trump, and I think, yeah, Fox is probably going to turn on him pretty soon because he's bad. You know, Trump's bad for business for Fox. Don't worry, though. Here's Trump at this Faith and Freedom event, something. We're going to watch, actually, a bunch of it later tonight in Red Light. But you better look out, Marxists and socialists and communists. Trump's coming for you.
Made them competitive. Today, I'm announcing a new plan to protect the integrity of our immigration system. Federal law prohibits the entry of communists and totalitarians into the United States. But my question is, what do we do with the ones that are already here that grew up in it? I think we have to pass a new law for them. Using federal law in Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act, I will order my government to deny entry to all communists and all Marxists. Those who come to and join our country must love our country. We want them to love our country. We don't want them when they want to destroy our country. Welcome to America. We want to destroy your country. Thank you very much. So we're going to keep foreign Christian-hating communists, Marxists, and socialists out of America. We're keeping them out of America.
I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it to like the election, like to the general election. No, I don't think he's going to die or anything. I just don't think he's going to make it. I think he's going to lose his mind or lose what he has left of his mind before the election. Like, he has no, first of all, he said he meant immigration and naturalization code, but he said something else. I forget what it was, like immigration and nationality code or some shit. Like he's losing it, man. it's fun to watch, I guess, because I don't like the guy, but it's kind of terrifying that he could be the president again, because seems like seems like there's some screws looser than they were before. Here's Ron DeSantis is apparently going to sue the Department of Education. This is Trump's biggest competitor for president. It's still early, though. We don't know what's going to happen.
Ultimately, what we need is a competitive market in accreditation. It's one thing if there were accreditors out there and you could freely choose where you wanted to go, then I think we would be probably not even having this discussion now. But we're in a situation where that's not the case, where we're expected to go to this one accreditor, and this is an accreditor that has an agenda. And why should that agenda be our agenda? Nobody voted for that agenda. They did vote for the agenda in the legislature and what we've signed into law. So I think it's important because it shapes how our institutions of higher education operate. And so often they have to do things to please accreditors. And so if the accreditors really want to move the institutions in one way, right now, they basically have the authority to do it. And so we're going to put a stop to that.
He's going to sue the Department of Education because he doesn't like that to be accredited, you have to do education. What a crazy, crazy, crazy thing. He's like, oh, I can't get our crazy ass schools can't get accredited if they're teaching voodoo. So we're just going to get rid of the accreditation process. Actually, we're going to sue the Department of Education and make them accredit our schools. Here's Ron DeSantis talking about sports.
What is it about baseball that you love? I mean, it is a thinking man's game. It does seem to kind of track with where you are at in your trajectory of your career. Tell me a little bit about baseball.
Well, I think, Ted Williams, when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, said baseball gives every American boy a chance to succeed. And I think there's something to that. There's so many different places that you need to have on a baseball team, and there's different skills that are required. So some people can be a pitcher, some people can be a middle infielder, some people can be a catcher, and so I think that there's kind of a place for everybody on a baseball team if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to practice, and if you're willing to hone your skills. So I kind of thought it was always a very democratic game, a very meritocratic game, whereas I kind of viewed like basketball as these guys are just freaks of nature. They're just the incredible athletes. In baseball, you have some guys that might not necessarily be the best athlete, but maybe they've got, that slider that nobody can hit, or they have the skills that allow them to compete at the highest level.
I mean, it's just racism. That's just racism. Basketball's coded very black, and baseball, a lot of black people play baseball too, but it's more coded white. That's what he means. He just means there's white people in baseball. I mean, that was so that's pretty transparent. Calling them freaks of nature. Dude, they're just tall and good at basketball. Get the fuck out of here. Here's Ron DeSantis. He visited San Francisco. We talked about this on Down Ballot, but I'm going to play this clip of this video that he made himself again anyway. Just because he used the word riffraff, and I kind of love the idea that he's like, oh, we're in San Francisco. Look at all the riffraff.
Look around, the city is not vibrant anymore. It's really collapsed because of leftist policies, and these policies have caused people to flee this area. They don't prosecute criminals like they do in most parts of the country, and the wreckage has really been sad to see. And so I've seen so many businesses boarded up. I've seen so much riffraff just running around, and it just shows you these policies matter. Leadership matters. They are doing it wrong here.
They're doing it wrong here. Policy matters. Leadership matters. There's riffraff. He's standing in the TL, the Tenderloin. It's not the best area of the city, but there's a lot of good parties in the TL. So, whatever. You get what you get. Here's Mark Levin, whining about the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Haven't seen a lot of Mark Levin lately. He's, maybe he's making a comeback.
And Dorn made the point that like a laser focuses on Donald Trump, even concocts information against Donald Trump, changes evidence to try and go after Donald Trump, works with the Democrat Party to go after Donald Trump, and then drops everything when it comes to Hillary Clinton, as they're dropping everything when it comes to the Bidens. This oversight responsibility that you and Jim Jordan and others have, and you're not getting a hell of a lot from the Senate, other than a few senators like Johnson and Grassley. But the fact of the matter is, this oversight responsibility is also a legislative responsibility. These institutions have to be changed. These institutions have to lose resources. These institutions have to stop spying on Americans. These institutions have to stop trying to destroy Republican candidates, Republican elections, and a former Republican president. This is just beyond belief. Are you folks thinking about these things?
Absolutely. I think about it every day. I think about it more since I've started trying to deal with Christopher Wray and the FBI bureaucracy. Look, this is something the Republicans are going to have to stick together on. And you'll see an overwhelming majority of Republicans in the House do this. We're going to have Republicans in the Senate stand with us. We not only are going to have to reform the FBI, but we're going to also have to demand that there be new leadership in the FBI. There's not a lot we can do with Merrick Garland right now, but we can cut their budgets. And we can use that Hallman rule to try to get rid of deep state bureaucrats that are
deep state bureaucrats. They like when they say this, when they say stuff like that, they mean like middle management.
Respect to getting the transparent truth out there as to public corruption and political wrongdoing among liberals and among Democrats. So I'm all in. I agree with you 100%. The first thing that I said when I spoke to the Republican Study Committee yesterday, gave them an update on the investigation, I said, we have to stick together to defund this FBI building.
Famous for being against conservatives and right-wingers, famously a liberal left organization, the FBI, is they're going to defund them by adding 10% to their budget. That's probably right. So here, don't worry, everybody. Lauren Boebert has the floor at the House of Representatives, so everything's going to be just fucking fine.
How to seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows: H.Res. 503, impeaching Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 1, abuse of power. The Constitution...
It didn't go well. She didn't even get a lot. This didn't go so well for her. It was amazing. Oh, I didn't want to get too much into it. I just grabbed that clip, but it didn't go so well for her. She's had a rough week. She's had a rough week. Here she is on Flashpoint, saying she was actually guided by God to do this. Fantastic stuff.
All glory to God. This is grace. This is God's empowerment and his ability, and staying grounded, rooted in the word of God. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I am directed and led by him. You know, there was pressure for me not to introduce the articles of impeachment tonight. Well, not introduce them, but to bring them up and call them for a vote. And
well, the pressure was because you couldn't whip the votes. You have the majority in the House and you still couldn't get the votes. And that's why you were pressured not to do it. It makes you look stupid.
I said, you know, I have a piece, a still in my spirit, and I'm going to be led by peace, not by the pressure from the outside. And we've seen that on full display with the speaker's race, where Matt Gaetz and I were surrounded, pressure from the outside, but strong on the inside, knowing that we are purposed, and that we are doing what is right, what is righteous. And I think, just as you said, history will prove that. I'm not being like the press secretary and calling myself an historic figure, but history will prove.
Oh, you're a historic figure, all right. You just don't know in what way.
That we were on the right side of the argument, and it is all about being led by the Spirit of God in everything that you do. I do give him all glory for where I am, for the people that he has positioned me with and in front of, to speak life into situations and to hold the corrupt accountable. I'm grateful to be here and to help get our country back on track, because we are that shining city on a hill. We are a beacon of light for the rest of the world, and it is the goodness of God that leads men to repentance.
Maybe you could have once said that, but we are no longer any of those things. We are a laughing stock. Shout out to Right Wing Watch. The United States is a laughing stock, unfortunately. I don't know what else to say. Here's a Sean Hannity with Lauren Boebert on. It seems like Fox is maybe turning on some of these people. Here's Lauren Boebert on Hannity show, and she's going to be asked, what's going on with you and Marjorie the Gathering? Why you beefing?
I'd be negligent if I didn't ask you. All right, what's going on with you and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Sean, I did not put my life on pause and leave my 4 boys and my now grandson to come here and just get in spats with people. I came here to legislate and to be effective for Coloradans who are suffering from the Democrats' policy. Marjorie is not my enemy. Joe Biden's policy, the Democrats, that is my enemy that I am combating right now. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure I put them in check and hold them accountable and take our country back from this radical extremism that we are seeing. And that's why, Sean, for the first time in 24 years, a House Republican majority voted today, unanimously, Republicans voted to begin impeachment proceedings against a current president. I jump-started this critical effort to ensure that Joe Biden is impeached for his unconstitutional dereliction of duty, violating Article 2 of the Constitution by failing to execute our immigration and border security laws. And my articles of impeachment, like you said, they're referred to the Homeland Security Committee and the Judiciary Committee, so we can expedite these impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden.
All right, Congresswoman, great to have you as always. Thank you for being with us.
Why is there a studio audience fucking clapping for that fucking lady? This isn't going to work. She's just doing this to get on TV. She's doing this to raise her own profile, because she only won her last election by like 400 or 500 votes. A lot of people kind of forget that, but in 2022, she was pretty close. And it looks like her opponent this time's got his shit together, and she might no longer be in Congress after 2024, because Colorado's a pretty blue state, and her area, like where she's at, isn't that leaning that hard Republican, and she's not likable. She's abrasive. She's not very bright, and she probably doesn't know how to really run a good campaign. So I'm hoping she loses. Hoping she loses by a lot too. Or actually, I kind of hope she loses by just a little, so she can run around the country claiming the fucking vote was fraudulent. She could pull a sore loser Lake. That'd be a lot more fun. Watching her go around fucking wah, wah, wah. Ballot harvesting, wah, wah, wah. That's what I want. Actually, I want her to lose by 2 fucking votes, now that I think about it. All right, so some Republicans are getting a little bit pissed off at Gymnasium Jordan for because of this weird fucking... There's some whistleblower crap that's not really playing out the way it's supposed to, and they're getting pissed off at Jim Jordan.
I think that's beyond the scope of what's in the report.
It's literally the scope of what your charging order is. Who put it in motion? We get after it was put in motion, the FBI did a bunch of wrong and corrupt things. Totally understand. We're trying to deal with that. But when you are part of the cover-up, Mr. Durham, then it makes our job harder.
Yeah, well, if that's your thought, I mean, there's no way of dissuading you from that. I can tell you that it's offensive and that the people who worked on this investigation have spent their lives trying to protect the people in this country and pursue within the law what it is that we are authorized to do.
You tried 2 cases, lost both of them, and then the one guilty plea you got, Kleinsmith is back to practicing law in Washington, D.C. today.
Yeah, that's beyond my control.
Right, but the fact that you allowed that plea to occur, right, and then the punishment was insufficient, the fact that you didn't charge Andrew McCabe, you didn't convict the lying Democrats or the lying Russians, you didn't investigate Mifsud or the Mueller probe, even though, as we sit here today in black letter, that was your charge. Have you ever heard of the Washington Generals?
The Washington Generals, yes.
Yeah, and they're the team that basically gets paid to show up and lose, right?
Well, I'm sure that the players who exert blood, sweat, and tears don't view it that way, but you might.
I think they do. I think they do, because the job of the Washington Generals is to show up every night and to play the Harlem Globetrotters. And their job is to lose.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of a different thing.
Yeah, so their job is to lose. And I'm kind of wondering, and it just seems so facially obvious that it's not what's in your report that's telling, it's the omission, it's the lack of work you did. And for the people like the chairman who put trust in you, I think you let them down, I think you let the country down, and you are one of the barriers to the true accountability that we need.
Do I get to respond to that or comment on that? Yeah, well, I don't know if you've ever investigated a crime.
So he's, this is a little bit complicated, but he's kind of throwing shade at Jim Jordan there, because Jim Jordan is the chair of that committee and appointed this guy as the special counsel for the committee. The guy's just trying to do his job, but what they've asked him to do, some of it's ridiculous, and so it's a little bit difficult for him to do it. Now they're getting fucking mad that they're not getting what they want, because the thing that they're asking for is fucking nearly impossible. So it's pretty interesting watching that play out. You know, like when you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then things don't go right. That's all. Yeah, they were holding out hope for this report for a long time, and there wasn't shit. And so now they're like blaming Jim Jordan and the guy who like investigated it. It's amazing. Sorry, Gymnasium Jordan. Let's not get it twisted. So they also, in other important business, the House of Representatives voted to censure Adam Schiff for Russiagate, I suppose, for believing, for participating in the impeachment of Donald Trump, essentially, and for being on the committee that investigated January 6th too. I think they didn't like that he did that, so they just censured him, not for anything really, just because they just didn't like that he was doing his job. So here's the speech he's giving after he was censured.
Recognized. To my Republican colleagues who introduced this resolution, I thank you. You honor me with your enmity. You flatter me with this falsehood. You, who are the authors of a big lie about the last election, must condemn the truth tellers, and I stand proudly before you. Your words tell me that I have been effective in the defense of our democracy, and I am grateful. And yet this false and defamatory resolution comes at a considerable cost to the country and to the Congress. At a moment when millions of people in our home state of California are unable to find a place to live or afford a place to live, Speaker McCarthy chooses to occupy the resources of Congress for 2 straight weeks on this hollow sop to the MAGA crowd. He offers nothing to those who are homeless or addicted to opioids or to millions of college students mired in debt, but this paltry distraction. Donald Trump is under indictment for actions that jeopardize our national security, and McCarthy would spend the nation's time on petty political payback, thinking he can censure or fine Trump's opposition into submission. But I will not yield, not 1 inch. The cost to the Speaker's delinquency is high, but the cost to Congress of this frivolous and yet dangerous resolution may be even higher, as it represents another serious abuse of power. Donald Trump has threatened that any of you that defy him and vote against this partisan resolution will be met by a primary challenge. And he calls for my imprisonment. If a transient majority can punish, and attempt to silence members who hold a corrupt president to account, there is no telling what further corruption of office will follow. And I say this to Speaker McCarthy and others who wish to gratify Donald Trump with this act of subservience or bend to his demands. Try as you might to expel me from Congress or silence me with a $16 million fine, you will not succeed. You might as well make it $160 million. You will never deter me from doing my duty.
They fined him $16 million for trying to impeach Donald Trump, essentially. Why can they do that? Why can the majority just fine someone? Well, whatever. I hope maybe they find his campaign, like maybe it comes out of campaign money. This $16 million is a lot of money, and I don't get the impression that this guy is like rolling in the dough. I mean, he's probably not, he's a congressperson. He's probably doing well, but that's a lot of fucking money. Oh, okay. Somebody in chat was telling me they actually backed out of the fine. Yeah, because the other people in Congress don't want to get fined no fucking $16 million. Oh my God. So this ad read from Glenn Beck is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, it's only 17 seconds. I usually don't run clips that are this short because I just don't run clips that are this short on the show. But this is weird. Here's how he finishes his ad read for Goldline.
Call Goldline. They're waiting for your call now at 866 Goldline. 866 Goldline. My N-word.
What the fuck?
Back in a minute.
The Glenn Beck program.
Oh no. I thought he was trying to be cute or something, but like, just fucking like offensive and unfunny. He's fucking, Glenn Beck's an idiot. Glenn Beck is a full-on dumb motherfucker. So this week we have 2 palate cleansers. I'm getting the idea we're not going to run 2 hours on the pod this week. There's just not. It's a bit of a slower news week with a lot of kind of shorter clips. But this first one, I cannot decide if it is adorable or fucking terrifying. I cannot decide. You'll have to help me with this. I think it might be terrifying. So you'll have to see the video if you're watching the if you're listening on the podcast again, because that's either adorable or fucking terrifying. I think it's terrifying, actually. I've decided that it's terrifying. So we have not one but 2 palate cleansers this week. I'm just gonna maybe run this next one. It's pretty funny.
There's a cry across the heartland, a yearning for the days gone by. And in little old Corden, Indiana, they're happy and they'll tell you why. They got butt drugs, they love butt drugs, butt drugs, butt drugs.
I love butt drugs.
I recommend butt drugs for everybody.
I can always count on butt drugs.
When I think drugs, I think butt drugs. For all my health needs, I turn to butt drugs.
You want hometown service and cheap hot coffee and liquor. Now that's the ticket. You can tell Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens exactly where to stick it. Butt drugs.
We love butt drugs.
Butt
Butt drugs won't let you dance.
Butt drugs.
Free parking in the rear.
Butt drugs.
I love butt drugs.
I love local commercials.
I think that might be a real commercial because it's like from a thing called I Love Local Commercials. So that's, if it is, that's pretty funny. And if it's not a real commercial, well, then it's very creative and somebody kind of like in their local community decided to make a commercial for butt drugs. Up next, in a rare occurrence here, mainstream news, legacy media, Good Morning America has a decent segment on trans kids in sports. So let's check it out.
16-year-old Rebecca Breezehoff is finishing up her sophomore year of high school. The straight-A student from New Jersey loves reading, writing, musical theater, and playing on her school's field hockey team.
I mean, it's fun. You get to hit a ball with a stick. Who doesn't love that? I feel like, especially on the field, we're just playing towards a common goal. We're working together. We're communicating.
In April, the House of Representatives passed a bill that would have prevented kids like Rebecca from playing sports across the country because she's transgender.
When did you first get an inkling that maybe what you were designated was not who you are?
Yeah, so from the time I was born, I knew I was a girl, but the world didn't. When I went out into the world as Rebecca, there was this burst of joy. I could be myself, and I explored different stuff that I love. I mean, I found field hockey after I transitioned, and it was just me being joyful.
While federal legislation is unlikely to move forward in this administration, there are currently 22 states that already have laws on the books banning trans kids from school sports. The conservative legal group championing these bills, the Alliance Defending Freedom, telling ABC News they're encouraged by these laws being passed. They say they want girls to compete on a level playing field.
The primary thing that people get wrong about trans kids playing sports is that they believe that trans kids are a threat, and trans kids are not a threat.
Skylar Baylor, the first openly transgender athlete to play on an NCAA Division I men's team, says these policies harm trans kids who are already vastly underrepresented in K-12 sports.
When there are inclusive sport policies, actually participation for girls' sports increases. It's in all girls. It's not just trans girls. And that encourages everybody in the girls category to be able to play and to be themselves, not just trans people.
Rebecca, who's been speaking out since she was 10 years old, says her teammates have her back.
What was your reaction as you saw these laws one by one being enacted?
I don't know. I mean, it's awful. Legislators are bullying kids. That's really it.
I think there's a really big disconnect between what we're seeing in state houses and what we're hearing from legislators and what we see in real life. I think that all transgender kids play sports for the same reasons all kids play sports, to do something they love, to have fun with their friends, and to be a part of a team.
When I step on that field, nothing else is happening. It's really powerful to have that time in the day to just think about a game, to have fun. I think taking that away from trans kids would be devastating.
Now, Skylar Baylor told us there was one kid in Utah playing girls' sports, a trans kid. In Kentucky, there was one. In Oklahoma, 0. Critics argue this is a lot of legislative firepower directed at an issue that so many trans kids I've talked to, like Rebecca, say is deeply hurtful.
That was a good segment by Good Morning America there. Because, this is just high school sports. Nobody's why are all these grown-ass adults so worried about high school sports? You shouldn't be thinking about high school sports unless you got a kid maybe who's playing high school sports. Because if you're worried about high school sports and you don't got a kid playing sports there, or maybe your friend's kid or whatever, I find that rather creepy. I think maybe you're the one we should be looking out for if you're overly interested in teenagers playing sports. But that's just my take, my opinion. Up next we have, I try to avoid these, but every once in a while we will run it. Just another racist person calling C-SPAN. It must suck hosting the C-SPAN call time, because people are just racist people call all the time. But here's a recent one.
Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. I really appreciate your show. It certainly enlightens me how Democrats think. I have not heard one white Democrat apologize for slavery. I haven't heard any black person say thank you to the over 300,000 white men who died to free those black slaves. I'm astonished. I realize we're focusing on slavery, but my descendants are from Scotland and Ireland. We never owned slaves.
All right, there in Texas. The previous caller mentioned.
She's like, thank you. She fucking hung up on him. Like, we don't have to apologize. Like, the way that he talked about it is stupid. I don't personally have to apologize for slavery. I know it's wrong though, and I know that like we need to educate people about what happened during slavery, and I'm a believer in that we need to atone for that. This country needs to atone for what it's done in the form of reparations. That doesn't mean I'm personally fucking apologizing for anything. Yeah, well, we're all the white Democrats apologizing for it. Shut the fuck up, old man. My God. All right. We're moving on to the, I guess it's going to get a little bit crazier, but not as, it's going to be somewhat less troubling, I guess. Anyway, Jesus is coming back, and it's going to happen in like 5 years. Next 5 years, Jesus is coming back.
I was reading Matthew 24, and Jesus gives a parable about the fig tree, that it's been dormant, but he said when it puts forth leaves, then the generation that sees that take place will be the last. And he was speaking several days before and referred to Israel as the fig tree, and in the Old Testament it's referred to as the fig tree. So I believe it's a parable about the nation of Israel, that she was dormant for almost 2,000 years. May 14, 1948, she put forth leaves. She was declared a nation by the United Nations and reborn, and we saw the fig tree come to life. And Jesus said, the generation that sees that will be the last. So he said that you can't know the day or the hour, which is right. But he didn't say you couldn't know the generation, because he gave us enough signs so that we could know the generation. And so generations in Scripture, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 20 years, 40 years, or 80 years. So I'm 75.
Some people say you could go up to 120.
No.
No,
I don't want to go that long. But if it's 80, and I'm 75, I think in the next 5 years, we may be seeing the return of Jesus, because he said the generation...
Look busy, everyone. Jesus is coming back.
The fig tree putting forth. So I have had that strong compulsion that I'm in the last generation.
So I don't believe in Jesus, but I've read his book, and from what I read in his book, he wouldn't like too many of these people. They would, if this motherfucker was real and he came back, these people would not be pleased. They would like immediately be very angry with him. He'd be like, "What are you not feeding the poor for? You know, blessed are the meek and all that shit." He'd come. They don't believe any of that shit. They believe in like a muscular version of Christianity that was never really preached by Jesus. Oh, God. Anyway, here's this guy. I don't even know who he is, and I don't really care. He's like, oh, Right Wing Watch is making us all look crazy. Well, if Right Wing Watch is making you look crazy, it's because your videos are crazy, because all they're doing is pulling like a clip of your video and playing it for people.
I'm dealing with it again because now I believe that Trump's reelection will be impacted by false prophets, making us all look crazy. We have to disavow. Because Trump is running again, we need to reiterate again where we stand. We have to stand for what's right. And I'm doing it as a soul winner because the audiences that I speak to have become aware of these people. And places like Right Wing Watch, especially, and others, are using it as ammunition against Trump right now. And I think and more than that, it's dangerous because they're using it as ammunition to people that I want to reach for Jesus. And I want them to know we're not all crazy.
Right Wing Watch doing, as they say, the Lord's work. Man, I love when these people complain about Right Wing Watch. It's so funny. It's like one of my favorite genres of videos when they're always complaining about Right Wing Watch or like Mediaite or Media Matters. My favorite. I do want one of them to do a video where they're like, man, we even ended up on Dave's show. But you know, you'll all will have to help me get more popular, so that ends up happening. Here we go, everybody. Here's RFK Jr. on Newsmax on the Greta Van Susteren show. And this is not a serious person. This is just listen to what he says here.
But what I worry about is a WMD like a virus, like a gain of function, something. Do you worry about that? Because I see that as sort of the next big fight, because those viruses don't see any borders, and they're relatively cheap to do this gain of function. I mean, it's just so. That's what I worry about more.
Greta, do you know what gain of function means?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and we know that the Chinese are developing ethnic bioweapons, bioweapons that are designed to attack people of certain racial types. And we're doing the same thing. We've been collecting Chinese DNA. We've been collecting Russian DNA specifically for that.
This is crazy. What is he? He's like, we're going to make viruses that attack people based on their race?
This arms race is a catastrophe. In 1969, we had developed by then nuclear equivalency with bioweapons, so we could eliminate the same numbers of people with bioweapons at, I think, 29 cents a death. They calculated, the Defense Department and the CIA calculated at that time. And President Nixon did the most extraordinary thing. He went to Fort Detrick and he said, we are unilaterally ending the bioweapons arms race. We are giving up all of our bioweapons. We're going to destroy them. We're going to disable the capacity at Fort Detrick, and we're not going to make them anymore.
Yeah, I don't believe that shit.
And 3 years later, almost all the nations on the earth signed a charter stopping bioweapons production. And the problem was the CIA continued to do secret bioweapons production.
No shit.
The Russians found out about that and rejigged their program. And then after 2001, we passed the Patriot Act, which reopened the arms race, which basically canceled out Nixon's 1979 agreement treaty and launched a new bioweapons arms race, and everybody else in the world is doing it. And the impacts, as you point out, Greta, are horrific. We need to stop it. We need to go to all those nations, and we need to say to them, let's get rid of all the bioweapons.
That was completely unhinged. Making bioweapons that attack you based on your race, like specifically that goes after Russians. This is fucking bullshit. I think like this guy's polling he's polling better than he should be because he's a Kennedy. But I think as more people get exposed to this guy's utter fucking horse shit that he spews, I think he's going to go down in the numbers for likely Democratic voters. And I think we're going to see him somewhere in the single digits by the time the election happens, by the time like the primaries happen. Here's old Jordy Pete talking about what's real.
And the truth of the matter is, we don't know how to define what's real. And most of us are materialists. The material world is what's real. Here's a different proposition. What's real leads you away from hell. Now that's actually a definition, right? It's a proposition that
it's stupid, but sure.
Your life will be conducted most fully if you abide by the dictum that what's real is what leads you away from hell. And you might say, well, why would you assume that hell is real? And I would say, if you were there, you'd think it was real. Right? So, and I don't really know what to make of that metaphysically. I mean, I believe it's true, and I've believed it for a very long time because I read a lot of literature about hell. And you think, well, hell isn't real. It's like, read about Unit 731. That was a Japanese medical unit in China.
But that wasn't hell. That was here on Earth, and that was human beings, Jordan.
I know. You read about Unit 731, and I would recommend, by the way, for those of you who are watching or listening, that you don't do this, because you'll regret it if you do. You read about Unit 731, and then come and tell me you don't believe hell is real.
No, that's humans. They were torturing people. That's not metaphysical or not of this world. That is very much of this world. And it's horrible that people do that, Jordan. That's not magic. That's human. And Not for nothing. It's not like the U.S. wasn't doing horrible shit to fucking prisoners, and we interned Japanese people during the war, for fuck's sake. Here's more from that interview.
The other thing I learned that was terrifying was I never saw anyone in my therapeutic practice ever get away with anything even once.
What?
Like, there's that old idea that God has a book and everything you do is written down. It's like, that's not just an idea. You get away with nothing. And of course it makes sense. It's like, reality is real, and you distort and bend it at your peril. And you may produce a rift temporarily, but that will snap closed on you. And you may not even notice the connection between your initial sin, failure to meet the target, to hit the target, and the consequences of that. But the consequences are inevitable. And it's even worse than that, because not only are they inevitable, they tend to multiply.
just not saying fucking anything, Jordan. Just don't worry. You just keep talking. Everybody, your cult will still think you're smart. Don't worry about it. Hopefully that guy eventually goes away. I don't think it's likely, but hopefully that guy eventually goes away. Up next, we got here's Charlie Kirk. Oh man, here we're going to talk about the fucking submarine now. Here's Charlie Kirk. He's going to tell you what happened with the fucking submarine.
But this is an interesting piece of tape. The CEO of OceanGate, who I believe is in the submarine, they say that he hired younger, more inspirational people over experienced 50-year-old white guys. Other sub-operators typically have experienced ex-military 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, because I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old technology. So one could make the argument that the CEO was promoting diversity and or irrelevant characteristics over merit. So this ties into a theme that we've been talking about, that we care more about merit than race. Makes you wonder. Play cut 50.
Yes, I mean, when I started the business, one of the things you'll find, there are other sub-operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, and I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old to go pursue marine technology.
Again, I don't want to overly politicize it. That's the left's job. What the left did yesterday is they were saying, well, OceanGate has a history of donating to Republicans, as if that's like a super relevant thing, right?
No, they thought they were gonna fucking. They think the. I mean, my criticism of all this is clearly they were like, oh well, we're just not gonna do what the regulations say, and then all these fucking rich libertarians, you're like, yeah, fuck regulation, let's get on the deregulated submarine, and then fucking dying under that deep. Dying is easy, like Jeff just said in chat. You go that deep, it's way easier to die than to live.
There are 6 people that are running out of oxygen, 13,000 surface, we think. And the Daily Beast sends out a story, but you have to know about their political donations. These people are repugnant, repulsive, and disgusting for publishing an article like that. It is, however, separate to say that, do you get your best in life? Do you get excellence if you care about things that don't matter? If it is true, this person tragically passes away, the CEO of OceanGate, and he says that he was choosing and selecting his personnel.
Is it possible that he said that because experienced people didn't want to work for his company when they found out what he was doing? And so he was like, well, maybe I can just try to paint it this other way. seems to me that if you had experience on working on submarines and you went to this guy's company for an interview and he's like, oh, we're just not going to follow the regulations, and we're going to kind of skirt around these, and we're going to kind of take from aerospace, and we're going to do this new and interesting ways that like people aren't going to be used to, and you're experienced dealing with submarines, you're like, you're the fuck you are. And so maybe that's why he didn't have any experienced people from the submersible industry, because they didn't want to work for his fucking company, because they're like, I don't want this blood on my hands.
Based on not wanting to have 50-year-old white guys, then you could make the argument, albeit rather cruel and blunt, he killed himself and his customers with wokeness. Difference if you had 50-year-old white guys? You don't know. But he was.
I bet none of them fucking retired submariners wanted to work for this guy's fucking company.
I just don't kind of want the archetype. I want to be more inspirational. Well, sorry, Pat, hiring a lot of people to go deep, to go explore the Titanic now. It's a tragedy. It's awful. It's terrible. I don't find any delight in this at all. But I think it's necessary to play that tape. Because here he is going on a PR tour saying, well, I'm checking all the identity politics boxes. Let this be a warning to when we say that we want to hire more black pilots. Oh, hold on. Slow down.
Whoa, Charlie.
You could die if you embrace the poison of wokeness.
Okay, so first of all, except for landing and taking off, which are difficult, the planes fly themselves. This is different than a submarine. You don't need to be like a skilled fighter pilot or whatever to fly a commercial aircraft. What you need is a cool head. You need to be fucking calm under pressure. That's the main thing you need if you're an airline pilot. You also need to be willing to work for shit wages. Like shit wages. Like you wouldn't believe how little most commercial airline pilots make. But then the airline is still following all the rules and regulations and making sure that you're trained and that you have all your certifications and the plane's fucking properly maintained and shit. This had nothing to do with the person piloting the submarine. First of all, they controlled it with a fucking game controller. Anyway, this had nothing to do with the person piloting or driving, let's say, the submarine. This had everything to do with the design of the submarine. It wasn't designed right. And it failed. The person piloting it could have been the best submarine driver ever. The fucking submarine failed. It physically failed, and people died. Some of the story is kind of funny. But it's not like I think it's funny that the people died. I think it's ridiculous that you would spend $250,000 to go on a submarine where the company is kind of open about skirting regulation. I think you're stupid if you do that, if you haven't done your due diligence to make sure that the thing you're going to get on is safe. Do those people deserve to die? No. Is it funny that they died? No. Are there other parts of the thing that are kind of funny? Yes. We have the term... We have a term for this. We have the term gallows humor for a reason. It's not like this is a new thing, and it's not like I'm the only one who ever thought that dark things can be funny. So anyway, here's Glenn Beck going, you know what? Actually, fuck that submarine regulation.
You want to have people who can at least point out to you, here's the problem with that. And then you could say to them, I understand the problem, and screw off. That's okay. Yeah. And that's what these people did.
That's what they did. That's absolutely what they did. It bothers me that the United States government is now saying, should we have more federal regulation?
More submarine laws?
No, but these people didn't follow the laws around this that already exist.
We need more submarine laws. Right. That stops innovation. That just stops it. These guys all signed documents.
Okay, you can innovate on a sub, but I don't think you should be taking passengers on the innovative sub. You should be taking passengers on the tried and true tested submarine that is following all the regulations. If you want to innovate in that field, great. Don't put fucking passengers on the submarine.
It said, this, and this are happening. I bought what, 6 months ago, the Dodge demon. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told you this. Not before, it was in a sales gig. Not before I put the money down. After I put the money down, they said, okay, you have to sign this release. And it was like 3 pages of, we don't recommend you driving this on the street. We don't recommend the tires. We don't recommend that you use the drag racing. This is unfit for driving outside of these. I mean, it was, and I had to initial each paragraph. Okay?
Yes.
Dodge Corporation America, not responsible for the loss of your life. I mean, it was crazy.
Yes, because that's not a safe car.
I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'm never going to drive it to where I need the parachute. Okay? I think I'm going to, I get it. I get it. These guys would be the ones that would buy that and go, oh, well, I want to use the parachute. Well, if you want to use the parachute and you're not endangering other people who aren't also very well informed, sign that same thing. Hey, good chance you die if you do this. What is the problem?
You can't conquer Everest.
But wait a minute, you're driving it on the road with other people.
Come in and go crazy with it.
And yeah, like somebody in chat said, is it 2.5 miles underwater? Like, and I would be terrified to be in a car that has like 1,000 horsepower with Glenn Beck driving it. They should specifically not sell a car like that to Glenn Beck. He's a dope. Anyway, we got one more. We're ending pretty early for the podcast part of the show this week, but that's fine. We'll do extra red light. Matt Walsh. Oh no. Matt Walsh has a take on the submarine. And it somehow I think he manages to say something about a thing without being transphobic, which is actually stunning.
Pound for pound, it's very likely that you have wasted more money, or at least, you know, if you look at your total income versus how much money you personally have wasted, this applies to me as well. As a percentage, you have very likely wasted more money than any of the rich people on that submersible. So we're all guilty of wasting money.
We're not criticizing them for spending $250,000 to go on a submarine ride. We're criticizing them for spending $250,000 to go on an unregulated submarine ride from some company that fucking we just all heard about for the first time.
That's modern life. Like, we fill our lives and our homes with a whole bunch of crap we don't need, constantly finding new reasons to waste money. We all do that. And as your income increases, you just end up wasting more money. But, you know, if you're not wasting as much money as a billionaire, it's probably just because you don't have that much money to waste. But you certainly waste almost all the money you can waste. So it's sort of a pointless thing to get all high and mighty about. But also, of all the things that a rich person can waste their money on, I think this is one of the better things. I mean, the world's a better place if you have rich people that are motivated to do eccentric and crazy things, like, okay, they want to go to the bottom of the ocean, they want to fly into space. There are a lot of things that the elites can spend their money on and do spend their money on. A very destructive effect on society and on our culture. That's not one of those things. Okay, I wish this is what all the billionaires were doing.
Me too. Me too, Matt. But, you know, for a different reason. Me too. Send all the billionaires to space or to the bottom of the ocean. Absolutely. In a video game. So, I don't know what we learned today on the show. I don't think we learned a whole lot. Usually we learn something on the Sunday show. This week, nah, didn't learn shit. We just made fun of people. So everybody, thanks for tuning into the podcast. Podcast listeners, I'm going to have to let you go, and your podcast player will probably play another show now. Maybe a good one. Who knows? Maybe a bad one. Maybe maybe it's just such that Behind the Bastards plays right after me on your podcast app. Who knows? Live viewers and, of course, patrons and members via eplex.store. You, of course, are going to get red light. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. I'll see everybody on the flip side, I guess. This is going to be Boomers by Periscope. See everybody in red light.
pay